Every month a full moon, every month a new moon. Welcome to the video here. It's about the full moon. It's happening in Aquarius, 7:35 a.m. Pacific. I'm doing this like late night here, but the night before. And I'll have some thoughts about this. I'll pull up the chart here real quick, okay? And show you some things. Hey, look at that little weird, that funny symbol that's a zigzaggy line of air, and that's Aquarius glyph. And there's the moon in Aquarius, and there's the sun. Now, 180 degrees away from each other. We do this every month, don't we? Beautiful how cycles of all astrology is, especially the lunar cycles. You know, there's so much involved in this chart and in this full moon. Just as a side note, if you can call it that, we have a Mars-Venus square happening. And just that alone is always interesting, I think, as a passing transit of, in this case, Mars in Gemini, Venus in Virgo, the mutable signs. You know, they've had a lot of action, especially Virgo in the last year and a half because of the eclipses were there. And we just left those nodes of Virgo and of Pisces. And several days ago, the North Node went into Aquarius and the South Node went into Leo here. So we're just beginning this eclipse cycle. But Jupiter's already started the game, hasn't it? It already started the game. And so there's so many things here, but I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. Now, we know here not only the moon, but we have Pluto involved. And whenever we have Pluto moon aspects, we do have something emotionally that comes up from a shadow place, from an unknown place, from a secretive place up to the surface. And typically with the full moon, shadows are exposed because of the light of the moon. So in this concoction, we have a Pluto moon conjunction, which is pretty intense, can bring power plays and can be very focused and almost obsessive to the point. But think about power plays. Now, what type of power plays depends on you, the human watching this, or the power plays people will do around you, towards you. It just depends, right? So we have one part of the concoction, and on the other part of the concoction, we have the sun in Leo, which is shining bright. At least in the northern hemisphere, it's nice and warm, a little too warm in some places, right? But it connotation is to express and shine itself. It's life-giving, makes things grow, pushes things out, radiates. Things things wouldn't be birthed if it wasn't for the sun and for the moon and for other little things. But the sun's important. But let's say the sun was turned up to 11. Like, so if it was a guitar amplifier and we're going to go all the way, turning up to 11 is a joke because there's no thing that's set to 11. It's usually set to 10 or max, but turning it to 11 is an old Spinal Tap joke. But it's turned up to 11. Why do I say that? It's because Jupiter, in a sense, is enhancing the situation. From a technical view, they're together. It's a conjunction. Now, from another technical view, an older view, Jupiter is having its conjunction with the sun, and in a sense, in the beams inside the sun. In a sense, there is a ending and birthing moment that's happening here with Jupiter and the sun. So it's kind of lost there. In a sense, the sun has more power, in a sense, over Jupiter. You can look at it that way. But we're keeping it simple, aren't we? So on one side, we have the expressive Leo with Jupiter there, with only, and I'll stop here and let's just do it. You're going to see me change the chart here. And it happens to be earlier, a couple hours earlier, on the way to the exactness of the full moon, that we do our yearly Jupiter-Sun conjunction. But this one's very important because of the journey we are doing here for the next year, year and a half with the signs of Leo and Aquarius. There's eclipses that are going to start happening there. And here's Jupiter at 5:17 a.m. Guys are going to wake up and see this and see it's already happened. Some of you I know are waking up specifically around this time, before, during, and after, because you're probably going to try to enact something. And if I were to talk about a chart or a lunation like this full moon to from an inaction point of view, from cultivating and pushing out, this is one of them to do for the year. It's not perfect, But there's so much power involved here and so much bigness that if you were to corral this and try to corral it, this is an interesting time to do it. Some of you might see this later. It doesn't mean you still can't corral it, but I know specifically some of you are corralling this time early in the morning, or if you're 3 hours away in the East Coast, you're up then, or wherever it is, depending. Is the Jupiter-Sun conjunction for the year, the Cazimi moment that Jupiter is at the heart of the Sun. Very powerful moment here. So let's go back here, or let's move forward to a couple hours later when the full moon is exact. So we have Pluto and the moon on one side, and we have Jupiter and Sun on the other side. Now, if you were to think about it, if it was competitive and they were coming at each other, that's a win-lose thing. Who would win? You could look at it that way. You could try to look at it that way. Me, myself, I'm not going to look at it that way. I'm going to try to take Moon and Pluto and Aquarius and try to find a point with Jupiter and the Sun, and I'm going to try to put them together, and I'm going to try to find a sweet spot in between. Where in a sense, from the Leo point of view, in a Jupiter Leo, Jupiter must push forward and expand upon and push past boundaries in the sign of Leo was, I must express myself, I must show myself, look who I am. Look what I do. But even before we say those things, and I think this is a theme not just for this week, but will be for the month of August. If you're like affected, really affected, like you have Aquarius placements, Leo placements, even Aries placements, that you would be like, my thing is looking, I'm the mirror, I'm you, and you say to me in private, in the mirror, to yourself, who am I? I do this all the time, by the way. Like, I'm a Gemini. I'm going to ask myself who am I like 30 times a month. Is that that's each day a month? Anyway, so saying that, who am I? And when you know that, or you have to explore that, you go to places and you must figure out who you are. And if you do know, and there's a couple definite things, then we step away from the contemplation or the reflection or looking within or looking at ourselves, and then we step into the world showing who we are. And how do we do that? There's many different ways that we do that, of showing who we are, how we express who we are. It's infinite the amount of ways people do this, or how one can do it. The Leo way is going to be courageously, proudly, with integrity and with honor. And not only that, with warmth and heat and with love, in a sense. Like, look who I am. What I have to say, what I made, what I've created. That's pretty powerful, right? And if on the other side, the Aquarius side, this moon in Aquarius, when we're dealing with an eternal emotional process with the moon, how we get our essential needs met, and Aquarius has a detached view of it all, right? It's a little colder there. It's ruled by Saturn. In this case, Saturn in the chart's in Aries, right? I'll talk about that here in a second. But there's a different type of detachment. And it's like, there is a thing in common with Leo about individuation and expression, but it's done in a different way. And it's done in a way where, in a sense, sometimes there is a putting of self first, like Leo does, but at the same time, I think is also thinking like, who am I within this circle of people, community, nation, group of people? And how do I do that? How do I do something like that with Pluto that's involved, where at times it could seem like something that's being called from within that is in a sense rumbling or powerful, or the sides of Aquarius that one refuses to look at or subconsciously there. And Aquarius is a very like intense fixed sign that a lot of times plays the edge between one's individual freedom and then how it completes itself within the community or its participation there, and vice versa. And times when it's off balanced can be very like, this is the only way it goes, or you must be this way in our group, and this is the dogma in the group. And I think, it can go too far. And so when Pluto's involved there's a lot of shadow work, power plays that happen there. Now, if you were to turn that around, which I would do, Pluto can be very empowering and bring a deeper sense of going within and rooting out things that do not serve a purpose, that come up to the surface, that are rotting, that are poisonous. In a sense, giving more freedom to Aquarius and the Aquarius moon of how it functions, how it needs space to be itself, regardless of the rules that whatever structure in society brings or whatever. Aquarius plays by its own rules. It develops its own rules, and it's able to do that in its space, but at the same time has the ability to step in to another situation, a container, and there's rules within there. And somehow the individual and the freedom individual can still participate and be there and still have its freedom when it's even there and when it steps back out into its own, autonomous space. So, and it's kind of interesting with these two signs, because in the end, I think they're trying to get to the same place. They just do it differently. One's kind of cold and detached. The other one's just blazing warm, right? So if you could understand that they're, in one sense, trying to get to this one place, and it's pretty much similar, it's how they do it, can you use both? And to me here, when you have Jupiter that magnifies and Pluto that is powerful and moves in secretive ways but deals with long-lasting power and regeneration, you could see how this concoction, if you're enacting and if you're using it to see who, or not only answer the question of who am I in the world, but what's my place in the world. There's one's journey of this is who I am in the world, and then there's the other part of it, like, well, where is my role in the world, my place in the world? And when usually you're saying those things too, it's like that place or space is with the rest of the world, with humans, with nature too. So you have this interesting story of going back and forth, and we want to find a sweet spot. And a lot of times I feel that if we look through the creative lens and the experimental lens, I think the experiment and taking chances and being different in a way that's not of society standards, a lot of times Aquarius shows us how to do it. And Leo shows us this basic thing of just fire, ego, pushing out in the world regardless too. It just does it in a different kind of way, right? They both also have something in common where I think they want to share what they make or who they are. Also, they want to share it, and sharing requires other people. I think if Leo gets off balance, it forgets about other people and might not look at them as equals, and it's all about them all the time. And that can be off-putting and off-balanced, right? And then Leo loses a sense of self at that point and forgets about the initial question that I asked you and that I asked myself, well, who am I? And how do I show who I am? So think about things as a balancing scale. And can you balance Pluto, Moon, and Aquarius, and Jupiter, Sun? And this will play out not only in the month of August, but when we start to have eclipses and lunations in August, and 6 months from now when we do a massive of these eclipses that are going to happen next February, 17-degree situation that's going to happen there in Aquarius, all this stuff is going to play out. But at first we have to start. We have to start and we have to enact. Some of you might already have enacted, right? You've already are there, right? Some are starting at the beginning, like the example, who am I? Follow that. And so we're not thinking as they're in an opposition to the full moon. We're thinking about them as a team, okay? It might take a while. Listen, later here, when Mercury leaves Cancer and finishes the retrograde cycle, it's already out of retrograde and moves forward and goes into Leo, I feel much of what's happened this week with the South Node in Leo, the Jupiter-Sun conjunction, this full moon, the story here between these two signs will really put itself into play once Mercury goes into Leo. And eventually, Mars will go into Leo and will push this even further with conjunctions with the South Node and with Jupiter. And you have to remember, if you don't know this down the line, after Mars spends 2 months in Leo, it'll go into Virgo. And all of a sudden, in the beginning of the year, the first week of the year of 2027, Mars will go retrograde in Virgo and go all the way back into Leo. And there will be some maneuvering. And Jupiter will be retrograde in Leo at one point. And there'll be more maneuvering. And next thing you know, we're at those eclipses in February. So I want you to start your creative story. And I want you to enact this. And if you need more of a detailed view, look to the Leo and Aquarius parts of your chart. You can look to Saturn and Aries, which is currently retrograde till December, actually to help you with a little bit of this. That the Aries part of your chart has a say in this lunation and has a say actually in the Aquarius Leo eclipse story. It will in the next year. And that has to do with Saturn being the ruler of Aquarius. And it's in the sign of Aries. And Aries has a flowing relationship with Leo, with fire. And it has an opportunistic relationship by sextile, 60 degrees away, with Aquarius. So Saturn's kind of lurking in the back there, kind of playing an interesting game. And it's there to construct something. And even though Saturn is retrograde here for the next 4 months, we review and revise with Saturn transits when they're retrograde. And we try to look at the pillars and foundations of where things are and then fix them or put new things and build upon them. That's a hint for the Aries people out there. You have a review period happening right there. But in a sense, if you use Saturn as another tool with the Leo and Aquarius parts of your chart, you can start to enact and express and build something of long-lasting strength when it comes to who am I? And the next step, what's my place in the world? And what do I do and how do I do it with other people? But first, yes, we say who we are, and the other part of it is, how can I show it and how can I participate in this whole scheme? Now, for me, attending this, I'm going to be more personal biased about this. I'm going to be a little bit more distinct. You've been feeling a little rebellious. You're kind of sick of what you're seeing and what you're doing, or what takes away your creative sense of self, or what takes away your thing, whether it's an algorithm or drama or whatever else. You know, Leo deals with drama. It does. But what drama are you going to pick? And if you are going to do something that has to do with participating and showing opinion or expressing, maybe it has some worth, and maybe it's connected to your courage and integrity. And if from the Aquarius end, it has to do with the collective, each individual's expression within the group and collective. And let's say you took it even further. That let's say you were in the United States and you noticed, and you have seen here for the last so many years, building up for a long time, my expression is getting squashed, or there's other people that I support, their expression and their freedom, that's been getting smashed. Their rights to be somewhere, their rights to do something, their rights to take care of themselves and their families. And we're talking about other rights and other decisions, other laws, things that have been getting changed. The powers taking away something under the guise of its nefarious purposes here. I'll be real with you. We've been waiting. Everybody's looking at each other, mostly everybody, who doesn't like what's happening here in the States with the government. They don't like it. And they're all looking at each other. How can we do this? How can we ban? You always see this in the internet comment section. How do we need to organize. And we have the past ways we've done it, but maybe they don't work as much anymore. What do you do now? There's fear around. If you do this, there's possible consequences. But if you come from a place where you're backed in or you're in a corner and there ain't no other choices but who am I? What do I stand for? Right? And not only for myself, but for all of you, my crew, or these people, then you must risk. You must enact something. You must creatively output. You must, with courage and honor and integrity, take the leap forward. And not only that, you'll do it with other people. They might not be 100% exactly with everything, but you'll have more than enough in common. And people underestimate other people. Sometimes they don't think, because they see someone's expression or their place well, that person would understand, or they're my enemy. You'd be surprised what you have in common with other people. And at the same time, you could still be your individualistic self. And that has to be figured out, not only internally within you or me, but with other groups of people. In this case, I brought it up politically. You have your chance now. You have your chance. And this is where when fire and air get together, and where a lot of astrology is right now, and all these other aspects, outer body things or whatever, it is made to shake things up and to create and to express. So I'm trying to light a fire under your ass and give you not just an excuse, but something with purpose. So ask yourself when you watch this video and afterwards, and repeat it to yourself. You're in the car, look in the rearview mirror, you stare at the sky and you say, who am I? And start to answer it. And if you answer it immediately, that's great. If not, and you have to go on the journey, the expressional journey to answer who you are, do it. And if you have to do it with other people to test it, to see where your creativity and your expression and what the courage involved, and with other people, let's say call that the Aquarius part of the story, with Pluto and Jupiter, Hades and Zeus in your hands, this is the time. Anybody's new here, you come here, please hit the subscribe button. Make a comment down below. I want to thank all my members. I'm with you. The last couple years when I've had the live streams and I've shown the slides, to you. I'm talented enough. You remember? I trust myself. I'm prepared. Now is the time.